Everybody, what is going on? You know what time it is. You're listening to Join the Journey podcast with your host, Emma Daughter.
Thanks for joining. Today, we are reading Psalm 86 through 89, and I am in the podcast studio with faithful Watermark member, Davey LaFall.
Hello.
Good to have you back, Davey.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. Today, we're going to focus on Psalm 86, but before we do, would you just share a little bit about yourself and what God's doing in your life these days?
Yeah, so I've been walking with Jesus and just trying to be a faithful disciple since I was really like 13 years old. Didn't grow up in the church at all. Didn't really grow up around any sort of like Christian influences, but had a lot of questions about just God. And I think even as a kid, I had this awareness that there was a God, that I was created by him, and that I was created for a purpose that was bigger than what anybody was telling me. I had an instinctual hunger for God even before I knew anything about him. And then around like middle school, someone invited me to church, and it was kind of over from there. Like God really drew me and won my affection for him in a pretty drastic way as a 13, 14-year-old. And I just by nature am a very wholehearted person. It's like if I decide I'm going to be in on something, I'm going to be all in.
You're all
I'm going to do it the way it's supposed to be done. And so I was, once I gave my yes to Jesus and decided that my life was going to be his, I pretty much from jump was like the kid who was passing out tracts at the bottom of the stairwell in my school. And, I wanted to be at the church anytime the doors were open. And my journey with the Lord has just been marked by this insatiable appetite for intimacy with him and this insatiable appetite to know him and love him deeply and walk with him in the way that I was created to. And so anyways, by God's grace, a huge part of my story is because I didn't grow up in a believing family. God provided, just a lavish amount of faithful men and women who really, really came alongside me in some pretty radical ways to disciple me. Teach me how to read the Bible, teach me how to understand it, teach me how to pray, teach me how to be a minister of the gospel. And so I have too many, specifically like women to count, who like gave their lives to investing in me, who saw something in me, who saw this raw, unadulterated, broken, chaotic love for God, and they wanted to hone that and cultivate that. And so anyways, that's been true through the years as I have grown in affection for Jesus, grown in serving him, grown in just being equipped for ministry, grown in just stepping towards opportunities that he's given me to serve in the church. A huge part of why I am where I am and why I am who I am is because of the men and women who have faithfully walked alongside me, and it's still true to this day. So yeah, I've been a believer. I'm 38 now, so me and Jesus have been doing this thing for a while.
Good bit.
And that's come with, it's not been a mountaintop the whole time. There have been lots of valleys. There have been actually deep valleys of darkness and doubt and fear and confusion and just circumstances that I've struggled to reconcile with my faith, and seasons where, I walked through a pretty intense crisis of faith. And my testimony in all of that is that his grip on me was so much tighter than my grip on him. He just tethered me to himself, and he just decided, per Ephesians 1, before the foundation of the world, that I was going to be his, that he was going to accept me into his family. And so even though the journey has come with, so many highs and lows, and like wanting to be all in and then wanting to be out, and then, just like wrestling, the Lord has sustained me by his love and has tethered me to himself. And I'm grateful to say, even after all these years, even after walking through pain and trial and suffering and hardship and all the things, and growing and learning through failure and all the things, I'm still standing on the foundation of Jesus. I'm still passionate about loving him and serving the church. And the only thing that I can boast in is his just extravagant grace, keeping me and sustaining me and sealing me. Yeah.
For real.
So thank you, Lord.
How did you end up serving on the worship team at Watermark?
So I moved here January 2020, jumped on staff. I was friends with Shane Bernard years ago. Shane used to be on staff, on the worship staff here. And so I think around like maybe 2017, 2018, Shane started bringing me out here to do stuff with them, like at different events
with
or
Worship
conferences.
Initiative or Watermark?
It was more like Worship Initiative in there. They used to do this conference called Linger. They would bring me out to lead with them. But there were a couple times that when I came out, they would have me lead with them at Watermark, whether that was at the porch. I think it was mostly just the porch. But Worship Initiative is like right next door to Watermark. And there's so much crossover that every time I came, I was extremely exposed to Watermark and what the Lord is doing here. And from jump, there was this sense of like, oh, this place is really special. And God is moving in some pretty unique ways. And just starting to imagine even back then what it could look like to partner and to add my life and my story and my gifts and my walk with the Lord to what the Lord's doing here. And the Lord just kind of faithfully paved the way, opened the door when it made no sense at all. And I packed up all my stuff and I moved I probably moved like December 2019, and it was a
pre-COVID,
place.
right before.
Yeah, didn't really know anybody besides, the Shanes, and had no idea what was waiting for me here. Making a transition like that during COVID was insane.
Oh, yeah.
So again, just like that was one of those seasons where I'm like, I don't really know what we're doing or why we're doing it, but the Lord in his faithfulness kind of tethered me to himself and tethered me to this place. And 5.5 years later, I'm still here and still in awe of what God is doing in our body. Like I'm in awe, especially the past few years. We've all watched him just revive us and wake us up and stir this like fresh, insatiable appetite for God.
Appetite for God, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say affection for him.
Yes.
Like I think over the last few years, especially through COVID, though those were hard years, our love for God has grown, which is sweet. I think my timeline may be off, but soon after you moved here, one of the first songs Watermark Music wrote was Undivided Heart. Is that right?
Yeah.
Timeline-wise?
Yeah.
Which is very convenient because Psalm 86 is in today's reading. So how does the worship team use scripture when writing a song like that?
Yeah. So it is pretty organic, and it always looks different. There's definitely not a formula. It depends on who's in the songwriting session, depends on why we're writing the song, what kind of the goal is. But for this one particularly, we were specifically writing for a record that we were going to record. And so we all kind of came in and we were just like, you just kind of open it up to like, is anything on anybody's heart? Has the Lord been speaking to you through any specific passage? I don't remember who brought it up, but somebody brought Psalm 86 to the table. And so what that kind of looked like is they kind of opened it up, read it, and shared, hey, God's really been stirring me, encouraging me, convicting me through this passage. We kind of have a conversation around it. Well, before any of that, we just kind of stopped to pray and we just asked the Holy Spirit. We asked the Lord to lead and govern the session. We asked the Lord to speak to us, to give us creative ideas, to give us melodies, to give us lyrics. And we just opened ourselves to the leadership of God in that. After doing that, we just sort of have a conversation around the passage, and it becomes pretty clear after a little bit, like something will like stand out, whether that's a specific line or a few verses. And for this song specifically, the verse that really stood out as we were having a conversation about it was verse 11, where it says, teach me your way, O Lord, that I may walk in your truth. Unite my heart to fear your name. And then some translations say, give me an undivided heart to fear your name. And so we kind of sat with that phrase for a bit of just like trying to like come to some conclusion of, hey, what does it mean to have an undivided heart that fears God? And how do we get there? Why do we feel like our hearts are divided? And what's it going to take to get us to the point where our hearts aren't divided? And throughout the course of that conversation, I think I remember something coming up where it's just like the reality that even on my best day with my greatest effort, if I do everything right, I check all the boxes, I'm reading the word, I'm praying, I'm in community, I'm showing up to church, I'm serving, I'm doing all the things. Even on my best days, I don't have the power or the capacity in and of myself to love the Lord wholeheartedly. Like I can be faithful to do all the things that he's ascribed for me to do. But ultimately that is, when it comes to my affection, that is a work of the Spirit. So I surrender, I submit, I offer him all that I have. But Psalm 86 that's really a prayer. David is not declaring my heart is undivided.
Yeah.
He's saying, God, I need you. I'm so weak and broken and chaotic and prone to wander and prone to compromise. I need the power of your Spirit to do a work in me that would allow me to truly love you with my heart, soul, mind, and strength, that there would be no division in me, that there would be one king seated on the throne of my heart. So that was kind of the conversation we had. And then this was one of those sessions that kind of flowed with ease. They don't always flow that way, but that's kind of an indicator that like we think this is a song that the Lord's giving us, because it doesn't feel like striving. He's just giving us the song. Yeah.
It's like you're discovering it.
Yeah.
That's fun. So let's talk about more applying these truths. That's how we got the song, but how do we live out this song? Like I can recognize conceptually, there's something broken about my heart and my mind, that I can't be perfectly united in my love of the Lord. There's going to be division in my heart on my own strength. How do I get there? Like you mentioned the Spirit. What does that practically look like?
Yeah, I would say I would just lean in on Because I think our nature is to go, give me the instruction manual and give me the ladder to climb. If I know what ladder to climb, then I'll climb my way up there and I'll get there. And that is like performance-based faith, which is like antithetical to the gospel. What being a wholehearted disciple of Jesus looks like is receiving the gift of salvation, receiving and resting in what's already been finished in him, and that being the foundation for like everything flows out of that. So I think it starts with just like a shifting of mentality where you go, and posture of heart where you go, obviously we're going to do everything that we can to like faithfully walk with the Lord. And I'm grateful that hopefully. And I'm really grateful that the Lord has made it really clear. Like he's shown us the path of life. He's given us a very clear pathway to a thriving, abundant life of faith in Jesus, you know, abiding in him every single day, like
looking at Jesus' example.
Following his example, following his way, following the faithful men and women who have walked before us, who are walking alongside us, living our lives in the context of like authentic community where we're not on an island trying to do it alone, where we allow ourselves to be fully seen, fully known, whether that's in brokenness or whether we feel like we're thriving. But the way the Lord has set this whole thing up is like the only way that we are able to do it is in the context of linking arms with brothers and sisters who can carry us along. But even before that, we have, like you started with, it's just like the Lord has given us all that is required for life and godliness through the power of his Spirit. He has one of our greatest gifts in having a hope to be able to thrive and being a disciple of Jesus is we have the Spirit of God living inside of us. We have access to the Spirit of God, the fruit of the Spirit. We have access to
resurrection power.
We have access. We have a helper. We have a counselor. I think we just forget that. We think the way that we kind of engage God in terms of prayer, it's like we make these plans, we do these things, and then we kind of pray in a way where we're like, God bless what I've done. Would you bless what I've figured out and bless what I've done? Where there's this whole other way to do it, where it's this constant, ongoing conversation, where we are asking for help, where we are waiting, where we are listening, where we are responding to the work of the Spirit as opposed to kind of moving full steam ahead and just hoping and praying that he goes with us. And because God is gracious and kind, even when we, a lot of our testimony is like when we have seasons where we're just striving and we're not really abiding with Jesus. We're just going through the motions. Because he's kind, we still know him and we still experience him and we still see him at work and he's still working in us. I just feel like the world opens up when we fully lean into just our dependence on the Lord, like our utter desperation and dependence on the Lord, and it's not just for things or circumstances or moments.
Lifestyle.
But it's for the heartbeat of my relationship with God. It's not sustained by my work. And it's like, that's one of those things where we're like, no duh, but that's not how we always live.
No.
Like at all. And so it's just coming back again and again and again and refusing to have this like life of discipleship that is self-reliant and that operates independent of God at work in us on a daily basis, moment by moment. And I would say even after all these years, I'm 38, I've been walking with the Lord since I was 13, 14, I'm still learning how to be a dependent child of God. I still want my independence from God. I want to do my own thing. I want to go my own way. I want to know at the end of the day that I did everything right, and
I want to strive.
So I'm like kind of like moving backwards in terms of like childlikeness. The older I get, the more childlike I want to be. The older I get in the faith, the more I want to be, just have this wide-eyed wonder and expectation and hunger for God and dependence. And I want to be more fully at rest in the reality. It is his grace that is sufficient. It is his power that is at work in my weakness, that any fruitfulness that the Lord allows me to see throughout the course of my life of walking with Jesus, it is as a result of the power of God producing those things in and through me. I want to lean into that. And I want to grow in believing that and resting in that and operating out of that reality.
Me too.
Yeah, so my challenge for you would be super simple. And this is something that I try to pray often. A question I try to ask the Lord often is like, Lord, I ask you that you would, one, reveal or expose the areas where I'm not fully dependent on you. And he's faithful to do that because it's not like a general thing. There are some areas in our walk with the Lord where more easily depend on him, right? And there's some areas where we really, really struggle. And I think sometimes it's helpful to just kind of take a beat and pause and go, let's kind of assess with the Lord. Let's go, Lord, where are the areas where I'm struggling to like fully depend on you? And then asking the Lord by his Spirit to increase your dependence on him. And ask the Lord to shine a light on the areas where your affection might be divided and where your obedience might be divided and where your trust might be divided. And I really, really believe like he's personal. He's a friend. He wants to walk with us and shine the light on the areas where he wants to call us higher. And so I would encourage you in your next time with the Lord to kind of like pause and just ask the Lord, say, God, I want to be more dependent on you. Would you show me the areas where I'm not as dependent on you? And would you empower me by your Spirit to be more dependent on you?
So good.
Yeah.
Our response song for today is obviously Watermark Music's Undivided Heart. We'll link that in the episode description. Davey, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. And as always, I'm so glad we're all on this journey reading the Bible together.
The Join the Journey podcast is produced by Watermark Community Church in Dallas, Texas. But did you know Join the Journey isn't just a podcast? It's also a Bible reading plan with daily devos and much more. Check it out by visiting jointhejourney.com.